Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Codo's Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo, and today is episode 18 of Codo's Cinema. And what am I going to do today? Well, I'm doing another movie review today. Well, before I get into the movie, I like to welcome back on-air personality, student of HitMix 88.9 FM WEIU, Randall Becker. Randall?
It's me. It's Randall Becker back for another week here on Codo's Cinema. Woot woot.
Yep, that's right, folks. And you want to know what today's movie review is?
Oh, gosh. We went and saw Sonic the Hedgehog.
That is right, folks. Today's movie review is Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yep. Coming at you faster than the speed of sound right here in 2020. It dropped Sonic the Hedgehog, the famous, infamous video game character. Sonic the Hedgehog of Sega fame came to the silver screen, or is it the gold? It's silver screen, right?
Yes.
Came to silver screen of cinema, and we saw him take on Jim Carrey.
Or silver screen or big screen, as what many people like to call it these days, or depending on how we view it. But anyway, as you mentioned, Sonic the Hedgehog is based on a video game of the same name by Sega. The film follows Sonic the Hedgehog, voiced by Ben Schwartz, who is on a mission to find his rings after losing them by trying to escape from Green Hills Sheriff Tom Wachowski by a tranquilizer dart, which surprisingly he didn't dodge. But on a side note, this leads Sonic to team up with Tom to find the rings while being pursued by Dr. Robotnik, a.k.a. Eggman, played by Jim Carrey.
Absolutely. This was most definitely a Jim Carrey parody piece. I don't know. He's pulling all the Grinch out of this, all the Dumb and Dumber, all that Ace Ventura, all Jim Carrey energy.
Mm-hmm. Especially the mask.
Oh, absolutely, with the mask. And you could appreciate this just for Jim Carrey's performance alone.
Exactly, yes. And I'm pretty sure this is probably his first film that he has starred in a very long time.
Jim Carrey? Yeah, this is the first one he's been in for at least the last 5-ish years, right?
I think so.
At least in a major role. I know he's done some small indie projects. He's been very active on Twitter. He's an artist. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I mean, aren't actors artists too?
All actors are artists. That's true.
Same with musicians. I'm a musician myself.
Yeah, maybe we can explore this tangent just a little longer. Every single year he picks a different motif, and Jim Carrey is now a political cartoonist, and he's getting a lot better at it. The motif of this year is mangoes, and the most recent thing on his Twitter timeline is a Jim Carrey being robbed at knife point by a squirrel in Central Park.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah, the squirrel steals his mango. I can't even handle it.
Well, it looks like he's trying to go after Sonic this time. A hedgehog.
That's a wonderful segue. We're trying.
Yep, so anyway.
We leaped through that warp ring right into that segue about Sonic the Hedgehog. Jim Carrey's a really interesting person. We could do a whole podcast about Jim Carrey if we wanted to.
We could probably do a top 10 Jim Carrey movies on another podcast day. But anyway, since we're on the subject of Jim Carrey and Sonic the Hedgehog,
why don't we talk about Sonic the Hedgehog, right?
So, by the way, this film was directed by newcomer Jeff Fowler with producer Neil H. Moritz of the Fast and the Furious franchise. Well, sometimes you got to go fast to produce.
Yeah.
And furious. Get it? Fast
yeah, you got to get furious, just like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, so anyway,
schizophrenic rodent.
Yep, Neil H. Moritz produced the film alongside with executive producer Tim Miller of Deadpool and Terminator Dark Fate, with a musical score by Tom Holkenberg, a.k.a. Junkie XL. Oh, by the way, fun fact. Did you know that Jeff Fowler and Tim Miller both worked on a 2004 animated short film called Gopher?
No.
Well, that film was nominated at the 2005 Academy Awards for Best Animated Short. Although that didn't win. I forgot what film won back in 2005 for Best Animated Short. But anyway, I do know for a fact that this is Jeff Fowler's first feature-length film. Since Jeff Fowler was more on the short film side.
Oh, absolutely. And I think he did well for his first film, other than that original Sonic design choice.
Oh, yes, exactly. Because, by the way, you guys thought I was going to slide past that design, huh? You think I was going to slide past the original design? Because here's the thing. back in 2019. When the first trailer popped out, the design itself was criticized by many people all over the media.
We'll call it Twitter rage actually winning for once.
Yes, exactly, because Jeff Fowler took the criticism and literally accepted the criticism and took it and decided to push back the release date of Sonic the Hedgehog to February 14th, 2020, which was last week.
Yes.
To redesign Sonic.
Absolutely. Now, it's an interesting thing. The original Sonic kind of looked like the Sonic we're getting now, but a little bit more microwaved, a little bit more overdone as it is. It didn't take a lot for them to actually rework it. They just needed to redo the character model. Most of the animation was done and body rigged.
Right, exactly.
So they just needed to redesign him. Other than that, the film is okay for the most part.
For the most part, it's okay. The story and screenplay maybe a little bit off.
Well, that's what okay means. It's just okay.
I mean, true, yes, but a lot of people do see this as one of the few feel-good video game movies.
Yeah, I would attribute that to the hype. I saw this movie twice, if you can believe it.
Yes, and that second time, that was my first time with you.
Yes, I saw it twice. The first time, I didn't enjoy it as much. That was because I realized it was a family picture, so I had to go see it with someone else, obviously.
I mean, there's going to be times where video game movies will have to appeal towards more adults at times.
Sonic is E for everyone. I'm assuming it's going to be PG.
I mean, it was PG. Or it is PG.
It is PG. There were a lot of families there, a lot of hype going on. And, of course, because I was just so excited to see Sonic represented, well, relatively faithfully on the screen, I feel like I was blinded. It's good that we record this a couple days after we see the movies.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Because now I can just absorb, get all my thoughts together and say, I don't think this was a very good movie, but I really liked it.
Now, here's the thing. I really liked this movie, too. At first, I wasn't really sure how this movie will go, because after the first trailer, I did get the references, though. Now, here's the thing. I never played the game itself, but, I did get some of the references from few comments. Because the first trailer alone, you hear a Gangster's Paradise, which, hear me out. That was a pretty good song. Gangster's Paradise.
That's a good song. We'll review that song later.
But even though that song was not in the movie, it did give in a little bit of a good feel, even though a lot of people disliked the trailer because, one, the design, and I think I heard a lot of people were split on the song Gangster's Paradise being played in that trailer.
I think they were going for that pure cynical thing because it was made by the guy that worked on Deadpool. I feel like he just wanted to do a realistic, let's just make a really edgy Garfield movie. You ever seen the live-action Garfield movie with Bill Murray?
I have, yes.
You know exactly what that is. It's not Garfield at all. It's really weird. It's an adventure story. I think he was just trying to warp and make something abstract out of something that he didn't understand.
Right.
And then when they retooled it, for some reason, it just works very well for a realistic take on Sonic.
I know, right? I know. And not only just that, but it's probably the first time, and I'm pretty sure it may be the first time that a studio and director has listened to the people.
Oh, yeah. If he hadn't caved, I'm certain this movie would have made $4 million.
Probably.
But it's on track to make probably $200 million by the end of its full run, and it only cost $95 million. It's already made its money back by towards the end of this week already.
Right.
And this movie was not marketed very well because it could ride the social media hype about the redesign.
Right, because here's the thing, because the original design literally caused a lot of controversy, and knowing that even though they didn't do much marketing for the new design, that can tell you never know how the fans will appeal. But thankfully, the second trailer came out in December, or was it November or December?
The new trailer, I believe it came out in November. This is probably the weakest part of us being a podcast and not something that's audio-visual, is that we can't emphasize how horrifying this original design was.
I know. I can't emphasize how horrifying the original design is. But anyway, at least we got the new design. Speaking of which, you want to dive into the movie?
Okay, now the actual review of the movie.
Right.
So I didn't like it as much as you might have liked it. I think in a technical sense, this movie was a kid's movie. It was kind of horrendous. There are good kids' movies that exist. We all have seen Toy Story. We've all seen, what is it called, Never-Ending Story and other types of movies in that same vein. They can be good and they can have deeper messages, but this 100% was just a schizophrenic rat running around at the speed of light.
Or a hedgehog, I should say.
That's true. I shouldn't go all Robotnik on my isms.
To which Robotnik, Jim Carrey plays Robotnik, or Eggman, I should say.
He was a glimmer of hope in a movie that I did not have any hope for going in, and it just slowly built up that hype.
Right. It literally built up the hype pretty well, because a lot of people thought that Jim Carrey would save the movie, because there are a few things, or one thing I should say, Jim Carrey will save the movie, and I think he actually did.
Mm-hmm. He worked very well for the ensemble. The movie functioned very well as its solid microwave 5. But it was good. It was good in the sense that this was a solid Jim Carrey performance. Mm-hmm. Everyone brought their own. No one was particularly bad. There wasn't anything egregious about the film. And you can appreciate it. If you like a Jim Carrey movie, you'll love this movie. And if you like Sonic the Hedgehog, you'll absolutely fall in love with this movie.
I agree, yes. In fact, I like how in the opening we get to see Sonic's world.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, we could explain that. So if you've played the video games before, rings, you collect them, and they give you extra lives if you get like 100 of them. There's a couple video game references in it. In this case, they're warp rings, so he can go to different planets. And just like any trope where it's a video game movie or any kind of property, it's always cheaper to film on Earth than it is to film in Mobius or Mars or some made-up place. So we see Sonic's homeworld when he's a little 8-year-old, crunched up. Someone just took the Photoshop filter and warped him down to size.
Oh.
And we see Mobius, which is Sonic's homeworld.
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, was the owl really Sonic's mentor in the games?
The owl is not in the games at all. But she dies. Oh, spoiler alert. She dies about 3 minutes in. So
I know that is pretty sad because who were those?
There are a lot of Sonic creatures that we see. Even though most of it takes place on Earth, we do see a lot of Sonic references. There's basically they're anthropomorphic characters. They're chased down by tribal echidnas.
Right, and I'm pretty sure one of them is related to Knuckles, right?
Yes, Knuckles is the guardian of the Master Emerald. There are no references to the Chaos Emeralds and the other deeper lore of the game.
Right.
But we definitely do see other characters. We shouldn't spoil everything. I'm comfortable spoiling the first 15 minutes, but...
Well, even though this is technically a movie review.
That's true. It's true.
So, yeah, there's probably going to be spoilers.
Yes, that's true. You're comfortable with it,
yeah,
folks.
because I'm comfortable with it. Now, this wasn't the first time. I did a movie review where I did actually spoil.
We're not talking about the ending. The first 15 minutes, if you can't sit for the first 15 minutes and someone's told it to you, chances are you don't like that movie and you should get a refund while you can. But this is a good, fun movie. If you like Sonic, if you want to sit down with your kids, they'll sit down there and watch it. There are enough inside jokes. It's a good family movie. A lot more family-centric than I thought, but then again, that's because the Sonic fan base is very different from the Sonic that's being depicted in the media right now.
Right, because Sonic, like I said, Sonic is based on a video game character, and I'm pretty sure this wasn't the first time we had a family-friendly video game movie. Remember Detective Pikachu?
Oh yeah, Detective Pikachu. That was just it was like half a year ago, right?
That was almost half a year ago. That one is actually a pretty good movie because they actually got the designs right.
It came out in May. They were very faithful to the Pokemon designs. I think Detective Pikachu might be worse than Sonic the Hedgehog, though.
What makes you say that?
This is a review of Detective Pikachu now. Detective Pikachu did not have as good of and cohesive of a story. I think they wasted Ryan Reynolds as an actor when they tried to write it, and then it was just far too predictable.
Same with Sonic the Hedgehog. Even though some video game movies can have a little bit of bad writing, but like at times, I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. I thought Sonic had some pretty decent writing at best.
Yes, if they give it a personal bias here, right? And I love dropping numbers because they mean something to someone. But when we're looking at it personally, if I were to say personal bias, if you like Sonic and I like Sonic, you'll think this is like an 8 or a 9. But if you want to look at it from like filmmaking perspective, you might not like this very much, but why are you going to see a PG family movie?
I mean, true, exactly. But anyway, I mean, the movie does go forward a little bit with Sonic and Green Hills Sheriff Tom Wachowski.
Yes, Donut Lord.
Donut Lord. Oh yeah. And then what did he call Sonic?
The Blue Devil.
Blue Devil. All right.
Yes, to lay down what's up with Sonic, right? So he's essentially a cryptid, a mystical creature that may or may not actually exist that's being hunted by the local crazy guy.
Right.
And Green Hill, which is a super small town in Wyoming, essentially has this one mystery. It's the Blue Devil. Everybody thinks he's crazy for it, but the moment Sonic starts showing up and talking, it's just consistently people passing out and freaking out.
I know, right? Because not only that, but there was actually a reference. That drawing was actually a reference.
Yes. So there are a couple of references to the internet culture and the fan base surrounding Sonic the Hedgehog that you'll greatly appreciate. I don't want to entirely spoil the drawing.
Right.
But
yeah, let's not spoil
there
the
are some
drawing.
wanted posters that are very familiar to if you've like followed the drama online.
Right, but I can't describe the drawing, but at least
it's very crude.
Yes,
but somehow better than the original design for Sonic the Hedgehog.
Exactly. Although I wish there was a jab at the original design. I wish.
Oh yeah, there might have been a throwaway line.
Was it really a throwaway line?
I think there was something like that. I could have sworn Sonic said something to the effect of, "I don't look anything like that," but it was just so small and minute. Because, well, if we're going to look at the production history of this movie as well, too, they didn't need to reshoot anything.
No, they didn't even need to reshoot at it at all.
They spent an extra $5 million of the $90 million budget.
Exactly.
To just add a new model in, and it was that simple. It's drag and drop filmmaking.
I know. It was that simple. No reshoots were necessary. Unless there are some movies where they had to redesign a character and reshoot the entire film.
Yes, I know they cut some scenes out. If we're like looking at behind the scenes interviews when they're talking about it, like, oh, there's footage we shot, we had to cut it out for time concerns, or it just didn't work with the new model, or structurally we couldn't reanimate, which makes sense. I mean, but it didn't ruin the movie. Obviously, I enjoyed it.
Right. Like that one shot in the trailer where Sonic says, "Gotta go fast." The one with the original design.
He does say "gotta go fast."
I mean, he does say
multiple times throughout the movie. He just doesn't say it that one specific time when he's running on a dirt road.
I know, which I know that kind of sounds weird, but at least we did get a good shot. I mean, say what you will about the design, but I feel like the shot itself, like the close-up shot was actually pretty decent, pretty good.
Absolutely. He definitely looked very marketable as a toy. I'm so excited for that. See how that's going to work. I would say in some cases, if you squinted real hard, he was cuter than Detective Pikachu.
Yep. Anyway, I mean, throughout the movie, Sonic's arch nemesis, Dr. Robotnik, was actually called Dr. Robotnik. But like towards the end, well, actually, no, I'm not gonna spoil it. But I'm not gonna go into like what happened.
We can
but
talk
like, he was
about
called,
it.
But like he calls him Eggman, right?
Right, Eggman, because he makes egg-shaped robot droids. Now,
exactly. How did he get that name in the video game?
He was big and fat and shaped like an egg, and he had a bald head.
That is true.
So it was a disparaging title that Sonic just started calling him Eggman.
Especially in the movie, like all of his rocket machines looked like eggs.
It was also an American localization because it comes from Sega Japan. Originally, he wasn't even a mad scientist. He was just a crazy man wearing pajamas. And he would just run around and Sonic was chasing him down. It was crazy. And then it wasn't until the second game that they started calling him Dr. Eggman. And then they fully localized it and they took over for writing the story.
And even though like I like how they were able to like Dr. Eggman or Eggman I should say chase Sonic down through his rings. Don't remember the rings? Like they went through different portals of the rings. To, like, different like.
I'd call it standard Avengers Endgame fare, where every movie seems to have this explosive CGI battle at the end.
I know, and I don't know if this is true or not, but like They actually went to Egypt in that, towards the end of that movie, Sonic and Eggman.
There were a few people that were upset about that scene.
What?
They blow up they destroy the Sphinx, and then they shoot a rocket at the pyramids.
Oh boy!
Which, fun fact, is a no-no if we're talking about sociopolitics.
Well, here's the thing: like, wasn't that in the video game as well? Wasn't like the Egyptian world
in one of the games, Dr. Robotnik or Eggman actually builds a fortress out of the pyramids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he builds a secret underground space force, which is powered and fueled by the Illuminati. Mm-hmm. Yes, these games are very deep. I understand it. And he launches it into space so he can go to his moon base.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I have to say. And when you think about it, I'm so surprised that the movie turned out as coherent as it is.
I know it's coherent. But on a side note, here's the thing. Like as I mentioned earlier, like remember I said that Tom Wachowski shot Sonic the Hedgehog in the knee with a tranquilizer dart?
Yes.
Because it's Sonic that can dodge multiple bullets and rockets, but he can't dodge a tranquilizer dart.
We'll talk about functional inconsistencies in the movie. Of course, it's a CGI. He's a cartoon, so they can totally do a lot of different things. If you've seen the recent X-Men movies and what they do at Quicksilver, they have a lot of those slowdown effects where he can move faster than bullets.
I know, right? Like because I caught the X-Men references when Sonic freezes time because Sonic's fast.
And he's literally walking on a 90-degree wall. And he's moving at super slow speeds. And he's like, "I'm having a good time. I'm having a good time." Oh no, we're gonna get a copyright strike by Queen. They're gonna find us.
Oh boy.
Soundtrack's fun, but also really weird and jumbled.
Yeah,
we got rock songs, we got rap music, we have country music. There's just so many genres, all being baby birded into the mouth of Sonic the Hedgehog the movie.
I know, right? But here's the thing, it's just the X-Men reference where I kind of where it got me because I did not expect to see that coming. Although I did expect it at the end of the movie during the final battle, but I was not expecting that at the bar.
It was so obvious. I was surprised, but I feel like it's one of those situations where you can't really do that wrong unless you do it really, really wrong.
They actually did it pretty well. Like the first time seeing Quicksilver in X-Men Days of Future Past, taking out the guards. I found that hilarious. I was laughing throughout the entire time.
It's the amazing. He just starts giving people's wedgies. And Sonic does that in this movie. Now, I like to use the analogy. I feel like even the worst brownie's better than any piece of pie.
Yeah.
It's like this. I don't feel like you could do this poor. Even if you did this scene very, very poorly, it would still be fun.
I mean, it would still be fun.
And that's kind of how this movie is entirely.
I mean, it is a fun movie. Sonic the Hedgehog is a fun, family-friendly movie. And yes, there are some adult jokes in that movie.
Yeah, but those are for the parents that have to put up with the movie.
Yeah.
But you might actually enjoy it just for the Jim Carrey-isms.
Of course. And here's the thing. Jim Carrey was great in that movie. He was great.
Oh, yeah. One of his more memorable performances. If you liked him in The Grinch, and some people didn't like him in The Grinch, he's got that level of energy and spontaneity to him, and he really, really digged Sonic the Hedgehog. Right now, his Twitter's just blowing up with mentions of Sonic the Hedgehog, liking, retweeting things, people sending things to him, spending love his way, because there is a recent issue with Jim Carrey that I'd rather not solidified on this podcast forever. But Jim Carrey is 100% in support of this character, and originally we thought that his cynicism and Jim Carrey just being an out there guy wasn't going to appreciate it and back out in the movie like Kick-Ass 2.
Right.
But he absolutely adores this character, and I think he wants to come back for a sequel. We could probably talk about that. not specifically the details of it, but that it's 100% probably going to be a sequel for this movie because everyone's on board.
I'm pretty sure there is because, oh boy, should I say it?
Okay, this is the only thing that we could possibly ruin for you if you're a Sonic fan. And if you are not a Sonic fan and you're coming to us for some deep, enlightened news story about Sonic the Hedgehog, you probably don't care. But this is the only thing I feel like we could possibly spoil. There are 2 end credit scenes.
What are actually... There were actually 2, right?
There were 2, yes. There was one with Dr. Eggman.
Oh, yes, that's right. He was in the... That's right.
Jim Carrey ends up in a place that we can't spoil the end of the movie. We can spoil the end credit scenes. And he ends up shaving his head, and his mustache goes crazy because he doesn't have any mustache wax.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to look like actual Dr. Eggman. And all he has to eat is mushrooms. So he just starts getting really fat. And he starts throwing a rock around. It's awesome. But the one end credit scene that I think got almost the whole theater just so excited and happy.
Yes.
Was...
What was her name? Tails?
Tails. Miles Prowler. Tails was confirmed in the Sonic universe, and he doesn't look disgusting.
I thought it was it a she?
It's voiced by the lady that does Bart Simpson.
Really? Was it really?
Yeah, she did a cameo.
Oh.
She did a cameo as Tails. Tails showed up for 5 seconds. He's hunting down the Chaos Emerald signature, which Sonic gives off naturally because of his superpowers.
And now Tails is going to look for...
Sonic the Hedgehog, and we're going to get Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And just like in the video games, Tails is going to accompany Sonic the Hedgehog in the sequel.
Oh, man, if there's ever going to be a sequel, I'll look forward to it. And let's hope they bring in Knuckles. Do you think they're going to bring in Knuckles for the next
They might
film?
save it for the third one if they're going to follow the video game. But I have a feeling that they're going to 100% jump the shark and shove as many characters in as possible.
Well, if they do it, if they're going to make a franchise or a trilogy, they might as well save that.
My feeling is that this is going to be it's going to have Smurfs, like the hidden village or hidden world. Remember that one?
I have not seen that.
Okay,
one.
so they had 2 Smurfs movies that had live-action characters in them.
Yes.
I think that's how Sonic 2 is going to be. It's going to have the live-action Donut Lord in it, and then he's going to be there, and then they're going to go to Mobius. But in the third movie, it's going to be all CGI, and they're just going to be in the land of Mobius. We're going to have Knuckles, Rouge the Bat, and they're just going to run around doing Sonic stuff. And that's when the movie is going to fail.
And then what about Eggman?
Eggman, he's enough of a cartoon character. I don't think he needs to be CGI.
Well, we'll see what's going to happen. We'll see how far the franchise goes with the Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Oh yeah, I'm hopeful, and I like the movie again. I just don't think technically it's a very good film, but I loved it.
Yep, and probably one of the few video game movies that are pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I'll hold this up on some kind of pedestal. I mean, in a couple weeks, me might absolutely hate this, but you know what? We can just worry about that in a couple weeks, right?
Yeah, we'll worry about that.
Because I like it.
Yep, I like that too.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So, anyway, I thought the performances were pretty good, particularly Jim Carrey's and Ben Schwartz's performance as Sonic, as well as James Marsden's role as the sheriff. I mean, we did get a couple of hop references in that movie because James Marsden was also in Hop, sitting right next to the Easter Bunny.
The CGI rabbit. So we had a lot of experience talking to something that isn't there, and I think that's kind of funny because Sonic is a bit schizophrenic in this movie because he's just so alone. And the live-action character literally has to almost pretend he's schizophrenic because he's talking to nothing.
I know, right?
And it's just this weird parody. Like, if you think about how it's shot on camera, and was this shot on film or was this digital?
Ooh, that is a good question.
It looked digital.
I mean, it looked digital, but we'll probably find out more behind the scenes.
It'll be digital right there. The acting that you have to do when there's not any physical characters there is so much harder to pull off. If you look at something like Roger Rabbit, that is lightning in a bottle.
Right, it's because back then that was hand-drawn animation. Or, I mean, part of it was hand-drawn, but didn't he also have to, how did he actually do that? Was that...
they drew literally on the frames. Like, they drew every single frame like an actual animation. They did it piece by piece by piece. So they shot everything with the people, and then after the fact, they drew on each frame and each animated character. But the main man in Roger Rabbit, I can't believe I forgot the live action man's name.
Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins. He had to basically just stand there and talk to absolutely no one and react to everything without any kind of direction.
I know, which is kind of similar to what Sonic the Hedgehog had in mind, but like Sonic the Hedgehog is CGI.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that it was believable enough that they are kind of buddies and there is a budding relationship there, and he's not a hateable character either.
Right.
In terms of fodder, and he's inoffensive. Mm-hmm. He's actually got a couple of funny lines, and he's fun to be around. So I think that's just a win, and a win, in pretty much everything.
Yes.
For his performance, at least. And then Jim Carrey did a Jim Carrey performance.
Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, a.k.a. Eggman.
Absolutely. And then if we're going to, like, critique the voice acting, I don't think he did a bad Sonic impression at all.
No, I don't think he did a bad job. He actually did a pretty good job as the voice of Sonic.
Absolutely. And I don't think there's anything wrong or anything bad that really can be associated with the acting. I mean, just it's the overarching story. It's something that Joker suffered from. Yeah, let's bring up an R-rated movie while reviewing a PG movie here. But
yeah.
It's like, okay, the writing isn't the strongest, but the actors elevate the material to the point where it just works.
Right.
And this is it just works movie.
Right, and it works. It worked out pretty well. This movie worked out pretty well, despite some of the bad writing moments.
Oh, yeah, and everyone had fun on it, obviously. The behind-the-scenes for this movie is ridiculously positive.
I know, right?
For the amount of hatred it was getting. But as soon as they redesigned Sonic, everybody was on board.
Everybody was on board.
Yep.
And
I think that covers just about every technicality that we could observe of the movie, right?
Yes, exactly. Even though technically we had to spoil a couple of moments. But anyway, throughout most of my podcasts, I say spoiler alert.
Yes, that's true. It's just assumed. Codo cinema, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway,
it's part of your character.
Yes, exactly. And also, since we mentioned Joker for the last minute.
And now we're going to review Joker.
Well, actually, not actually that, but you guys can also go check out my Joker review podcast back in 2019. Plus, if you guys are interested in hearing us on our take of the Oscars, please feel free to check that out as well.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on here, Mark. Thank you for doing this 2 weeks in a row.
Thank you. Yes. You're welcome, Randall. And by the way, thank you for inviting me to see the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie.
Absolutely. I could not experience that alone. I cannot handle that level of shame.
Yep. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in to Codo's Cinema. I'm your host, Mark Codo.
I've been Randall Becker.
And tune in next week for another exciting episode of Codo's Cinema. So anyway, have a good day. Have a good weekend. Staying warm. I'm hoping there's going to be some warm weather coming out pretty soon. But anyway, thank you all for tuning in. And we'll look forward next week to another exciting episode of Codo's Cinema. Bye.